Welcome, welcome to Be an Engagement Ninja. This is a introduction to becoming an engagement ninja using the Mentimeter software. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with the clunky old way that we share our screen on. There we go. All right, all right. And now I've got to find how to let Dave in here. There we go. And there's David. Welcome.
Hey.
So welcome, guys. I was self-proclaimed, let me just say this, engagement ninja. And I call myself this because I was able to change the interaction in these virtual courses that I teach from wondering if anybody's there to knowing that they're there because I leverage the software, which is called Mintimeter. And I think most of you know me, so you know I'm actually have a love affair with the Mentimeter software. So I'm going to walk through the presentation, but because I'm using the presentation and sharing the presentation with you, I'm going to be sharing it, but then talking about how I'm using it also, because it is kind of a teaching process on how I leverage the resource or the software. And the world that I kind of teach in, right, is that it didn't matter what I did. And I added a screen. I made sure I had a good microphone. I've got some nice lighting. I didn't invest in super cool cameras, but I did get a Brio and, I invested in all that stuff, a green screen, which I never use. Anybody else kind of done that, right? I got one of those stream decks. I never plugged it in, and in some of the stuff I did, I thought maybe it would help with my classes, but it really didn't. I still felt like I wasn't able to engage, and it really wasn't about the technology. It really was something else that was missing in my classes. When I found Mintimeter, that's when I figured out what was missing. Fortunately, in most of the classrooms that I'm in and most of the environments I'm in, it's not Zoom, there's not faces on the screen, but this is kind of what I was thinking was happening sometimes. When I would look at the camera, I'm wondering what's happening on the other side. Are they excited? Are they leaning in, or does this what they look like? And when you don't get a lot of interaction, right, on the question box and you don't see hands going up, your mind starts to mess with you and you start to think like, okay, I'm not sure I'm really connecting. I had heard about Mintimeter years before the pandemic. And it was one of those things that I just signed up for it. Somebody mentioned it and I started getting emails from them, but I never really understood what it was. And then I saw people using it during the pandemic and I was like, okay, now I understand. I know I was getting emails from them and I started looking into it more because I thought it was really cool stuff. And I put my toe in the water in July of 2020. And I'll kind of talk about how I did that and tested it out. And it was almost love on the third date, I will say, not the first date. So within a couple of dates, I was in love with it. So I hope the same thing happens for you. So I am going to invite you all to connect with me. And so there's a couple ways we can do this, or you can do this. So I'm going to share a QR code here on the screen, or you can use a smart device, right? So you will open up a camera. Now I realize if you don't have an iPhone, it's not as easy as it is with an iPhone. You can open up your scanner on your smartphone if you want to use a second device, or you can just open up another browser window. I'm going to give you guys a link that you can click on. And if you use this link, it's going to just open up a second browser window on the PC you're using, the device you're using to be on the Zoom. It's sometimes easier to do two devices, but it's up to you. When you click on the link that shows up from that QR code, it's just going to take you to the page I was on, or type in, the hard way is typing in menti.com on something and then putting that code in. All right, so I'm going to see how you guys did. And oh, I love the emojis. Thank you for that. That's a little secret that I use to make sure people are already on. So thanks, because you guys are speakers, you're giving me a lot of love here. But that's a great way to identify if people are on the tool, is once you drop that screen down of the QR code, you just go ahead and ask people to give you a little thumbs up or an emoji so you know you're with them. Now, I do spend a little time normally talking about the benefits of engaging with me on the tool. I'm not going to bore you with that process. Oh, the last emoji is a cat head. And I'm going to go ahead and put the QR code up here one more time because I saw somebody just came in, and I'm going to go ahead and put the link in here one more time because somebody just popped in here. So there's 2 ways or 3 ways to get there. I'm going to send you a link in the chat. You can click that link. It'll open it up on your current device, use a QR code on a smart device, or you can use that menti.com website address and type in that 8-digit code. There we go. There we go. All right, let me drop this down. And this is actually a cool enhancement that was not available when some of you took my last webinar back in the spring. This is something new that they added where you can just do a quick click and it shows up on the screen. No more downloading QR codes. It's kind of cool. We're going to go into the question asking here. Yes, I will provide a link to the recording, John. I will. So what is Mintimeter? What is Mintimeter? Yes, it is both. Now, yes, and it could be a Mentimeter too if it was spelled better, right? The correct official answer is, let me add one more person here, is the correct answer is it is a tool that enables you to better engage your audience, but it actually is the end of boring meetings also. Now, what I just did there is there's this way that you can highlight the correct answer. So if you noticed, the shading changed to highlight the correct answer on the screen. So that's one of the options here. So I will be pointing out some of those details as we go along. This is what it looks like when all 3 answers are there. And I just say hide or show correct answer, and it shows a correct answer. So really a cool little thing there. Virtual platforms are not created equal, as you guys know. And one of the biggest challenges some of us have is when we are going from one platform to the next, it can be very confusing. So this is what I love about using Minty, because as long as you can share your screen, it's going to work on any of these platforms. And I actually had an incident where I was not able to share my slides, but because I was able to give out the link, people were able to follow my presentation on the Minty website or Mintimeter website, even though I was not able to share my slides. I had a little technical glitch with GoToWebinar during the beginning of the year after some updates. It was very awkward, but I was like, wait, I can do this. And I went ahead and shared those slides with them on the website, and they were able to participate. Even if you can't share slides, it'll still work for you. As long as you can share your screen, you can use Minty on any platform and in person. It can be used in virtual, it can be used in hybrid, and you can use it in person on a PowerPoint slide. So you are on a projector or the screen. So as long as you can share your screen, you can share it in any environment. And I truly believe, although I spend a lot of time mostly in virtual, that this is going to be a way to bring the virtual and the in-person audiences together, because they're able to share in one place and see each other's responses. So I believe this is going to be a great way to bring audiences together in the future as we figure out this whole hybrid thing. What is your experience with Mintimeter? What is your experience with Mintimeter? There is an option to show or not show the slide to on the recipient's phone. So there is an option to not show the answers on their phone. So you show the slide, but you cannot share, you can choose not to show the answers. So there is a way to change that setting. Minty what? All right, good. Oh, somebody else is a ninja at using that. Awesome. Who's the ninja? Is it you, Kevin? No, maybe it's John. I think John, I've seen, it might be John. Oh, Connie, you're a ninja, right? Nobody's admitting it. It's okay. All right, we're going to keep going. So when it comes to audience engagement, and really think about this for a moment, what do you struggle with most? And if you can go a little bit deeper, what do you mean by that? And if you can give an example, like what your struggle is. When it comes to audience and great engagement, what are you struggling with most? What does that really mean to you? What do you mean by that? And then if you can give an example, that would even help a little bit more. What questions to ask? Yeah, it does take a little time to figure out how to ask the questions, what type of questions to ask, and when to ask them. It does take a little practice. I never get facial expressions. And you know, let me tell you something. I actually prefer not to see faces. I've a couple times promoted people up to panelists in the GoToWebinar world, and seeing their faces messes with your head. I've actually learned to love not seeing faces. And what I imagine is that there's all these people and they're just like sitting on the edge of their seats to see what I'm going to say next. They can't wait to know what's next. And I just imagine all of them being super, super excited and just wanting to hear what I say. And they're hanging on every word because I don't have to see these faces that are like, looking at me like, is this thing ever going to end? Right? Getting people to ask questions, remembering to ask questions. So it does build in, it's automatic. You're going to have questions asked because you're going to have them built in. Wondering if they are with me. Yep. Phones, people checking them as a way of checking out. Plain old participation. I train a lot of accountants and knowing how to engage them. You know, it's interesting. Actually, the one cool thing is that because there's a way to actually see the engagement of people in the GoToWebinar world. There's these little tools and warnings that tell you if people are looking at other screens. And the irony of getting people on the Mintimeter is you actually encourage them to look at another screen. So I don't even worry about those reports. I just assume that they're with me. And if you can get out of your own head, sometimes it really does help in just delivering quality, right? So if you can get out of your own head about that, you can see the engagement with them on the screen. You don't judge their faces and their responses. You can actually deliver, I believe, a better course, better information, a better speech, whatever it is you're doing, because some people aren't going to make that eye contact with you on the camera. Some people aren't going to give you facial expressions that build up your energy, but they may give you something in writing that you can work with. So you find the balance between all that. John says, I told them to use their phone just because it's different from most presenters who ask people to turn their phones off. Yeah, so it's actually like, whoo, somebody's not going to give me a hard time about my phone. Exactly. All right. What will you learn today? I'm going to give you 5 best practices for using Mentimeter, and I'm going to talk fast to get it done. I'm going to show you some implementation options for those of you that aren't using it, and I'm going to share with you how to leverage the tool after the event, because there is some really cool information about how you can actually use what you're getting from the class for later times, or to talk with your customers, or even in your business. We're going to play with the questions a little bit more. Do not do what I'm doing in your presentations. I'm asking a bunch of questions one after the other. I would never do that in the normal teaching world, normal presenting world. I would do a presentation, I would talk, I would share information, and then I would check in with questions. But I just want to show you a bunch of different options on questions so you can see how they work, so you can see the variety. Do not do this at home, is what I'm saying. Next question. What type of speaking or leading do you do? What type of speaking or leading do you do? And if you missed a question, you can simply click go to slide and it will take you to the next slide. We got it all covered. Nice, nice. Isn't that interesting? We've got a really good mix, and some of you probably do multiple types of speaking. So really cool. I'm going to go ahead. I just want to make sure if you need the link and you're not quite in yet, just send me a message in the chat and I'll make sure I get you guys taken care of. I just want to make sure all able to participate. Next question, next question. There we go. So this is a little bit, I don't use this type of question a lot. You have to have patience for these kind of questions, but what percentage of your time presenting is with a virtual, in-person, or hybrid audience? I just thought this would be cool for us to know. Normally, I would probably not use this. I'm showing you the types of questions I like and don't like so that you can see them all, because I know some of you are more analytical than I am, and you might like this type of a question. So you've got to make it equal 100. So when you select your answers, you've got to put in a total to come to 100 total. So that's why I would not ever probably use this in my own classes, but I know some of you would. All right, all right. Mostly virtual still. Looks like we're still stuck here. That's okay. I kind of like it. I like sleeping with my dog at night. Call me crazy. I think she likes me being here to sleep with her too. What methods are you currently using to engage your participants? So as you can see, I'm using different types of questions and different types of results. So some of the questions were multiple choice. I had the number displayed as the number who voted on it or chose it. This one is a percentage. So you can change the way the answers are displayed on the screen. There's a lot of different options and it's all your choice. This screen, the black color is a theme that I chose that gives us these colors. The way the answers are displayed here, these are dots instead of bars. So all of this is totally customizable based on the questions that you're asking and what your personal preferences are. All right, anybody got an other that they wanna, the font, no, but depending on the way you have the information displayed based on the different types of displays, it does sometimes affect the font. I have found that when we have multiple questions like this or multiple answers, the less words you use, the better, because it does shrink the font down. And then if we use bars instead of dots, it would change the way it's displayed. So that's really the only way. Now there is different fonts and different themes also. So the font does change based on the theme. Choosing the type of slide is key. Yes. If anybody wants to share their other in the chat, feel free to do that. There's probably something I'm missing. This is another type of question just to see the variety. So again, don't do this at home. Don't do all these questions at one time. So on a scale of 1 to 5, rate the importance of each outcome for you. So this is a little dot, right? A little radio button. You just click it across, drag it across. It seems easier on a phone than it does sometimes on a laptop or a desktop. You want to take your mouse and grab that dot and drag it along, or just put your finger on the dot and drag it along on your phone there. All right. So if you noticed, I just turned on show the average of all the scores. So there was no average there. And I had it off and I just turned it on. So that's another option on the display. So there's just a bunch of cool little, things that you can do in the tool, depending on your preferences. Being invited back would not be a bad thing, right? If you're more engaging, you may get invited back. Imagine several video cameras are off or cameras are not enabled, which we do face, right? What are you thinking in that situation? I already told you what I'm thinking because the cameras are off. I just go in, I'm crushing it. That's my goal, crushing it. Mind over matter. Not all day though. I have my moments. I definitely have my moments. There's that. All right, awesome. What you can see here is I actually selected these images and applied them to each answer. It was something I went in and I selected an image. I found an image that matched what I was trying to demonstrate in the answer, and I put the image on the bar. So that's another option just to make it a little bit more fun. Especially if you're not fun, you can find a way to make it fun. Can you see the individual answers or are they not? They are anonymous to me. There is some little ways that you could tie answers back to a person, but they would have to provide that information to you on some question during the day. You could hide their responses on the screen and have everybody put their first name in or their first and last name in, and then you won't see their answers as you're teaching, but you can, after class, tie every response to one person if they are willing to give you their name. So there is a way to look at that afterwards. All right, we're going to keep going here. You can create interactive presentations wherever they are and wherever you are. And one thing I've learned since the last time I really spent a lot of time teaching this is you can actually easily, depending on how many screens you are, even make adjustments along the way. I do like to be able to adjust. It is a ninja skill to be able to balance all of that. You can make little adjustments along the way. So I've found that being anonymous is very helpful. Yes, and that's why I believe that this is such a powerful tool, is that there are people in these courses and these classes, and a lot of leaders that don't do what we do say, I just can't get people to interact on Zoom. Well, there are people that they're shy in person. They're going to be shy on Zoom too. They're not going to feel comfortable speaking up in a virtual environment. So you are giving those shy, withdrawn, introvert people a voice. And by allowing it to be anonymous, they're more likely to participate because they know that they can just be open with their feedback. So that's one of the things I actually promote is, hey, it's totally anonymous. Nobody knows who's saying what. The anonymous is a great benefit in a lot of different situations. Here's the different types of slides that are available. We're not going to, this is obviously a 1-hour course, so we're going to cover high level what's there, but I won't be able to go into all the details of them. But there is popular questions. So I've shown some of these: multiple choice. There's a word cloud. There's open-ended, which you did provide some open-ended. There's the ranking, there's the scales, things like that. Quiz competition. We're not doing a quiz competition today. I was not doing quiz competitions, and I did a bunch of these back in March and April, and I had not done any quizzes. And I started using a quiz competition in one particular class that I teach, and it is so freaking fun. Oh my gosh. And I ask them questions. There's no way they know the answers to the questions. So they totally have to guess. And then I give out prizes. So I have them give themselves a name that I can tell who it is, but they don't always do it. So then I have to have them disclose who they are. But it is so much fun, and it creates a little energy in the room, and it gets them kind of re-engaged. I would practice them, but I'm all down for the quiz competitions now. I was against them before because I thought they were confusing, but I absolutely love them now. Content slides, images, quotes, headings, bullets. It's not as fancy as the PowerPoint slides, but if you love the interaction, the engagement, you can, and you're not like a Prezi person, you could probably kiss your PowerPoint slides be goodbye and be okay with it. John asked what kind of prizes. I give out links to like resources. So one thing I have is I show quotes during breaks in my classes. So I have a PowerPoint slide, a PowerPoint presentation of the quotes, and I have a PDF of the quotes. So I'll send them a link to download a 2-page PDF of all my quotes, and it's in a Google Drive, so they don't have to give me anything for it. It's just a prize I give away. They don't have to give me an email address or anything. I send them a link to that. They can download it. And then inside that PDF is a link to the PowerPoint slides. It's also on a Google Drive. So it's just a way for me to reward their interaction. All right. And then advanced slides, points, grids, and etc. Those are some other types of slides, which I have not shown you here, but you can put an image on the slide and they can pin themselves on the image. So you could put a map up of the country or the world, have them tell you where they're joining you from. You can put up disc personalities and ask them what personality they are, and they can pin their personality. So you can use it for them to kind of self-report who they are, or just indicate a preference, something like that. All right. So this is what the speakers are saying. I love Mentimeter, and so does my audience. Oh my God, Mentimeter is so much fun for me. And honestly, this is something that I have noticed is with the interaction, my energy is so much better. So if we're having more fun and it's funner for us, it's funner for everybody. So it does feed, it's like a little bit, as much as you can replace that in-person energy that you get from being in the room, because it's exhausting, right? Isn't it exhausting being in front of a camera? There's nobody to get energy from. We have to find a way to replenish that. And one way is this interaction. I found a way to supplement that lack of people in front of me, because these are the people, they are the people. They're just, it's words instead of, faces. It's them communicating with me in a way. And actually, in some ways, they can choose how they communicate. So they're more in control, which I think actually puts them more at ease. Because when you're in a room with somebody and you call their name, now they may be uncomfortable. But in this situation, they can choose and opt in to how they want to communicate with you in any way. Yep, energy is the biggie. One of my recent coaching clients who went through some training with me, he's a really quiet, shy speaker, an introvert, a slow speaker, and he has been using Minty in his presentations. And he said to me that this is powerful, it's useful, and it's important. And he's been using it for anonymous type of inputs because he talks about a lot of very confidential type things in the medical industry. He's found it to be extremely helpful in his presentations. And I think in a way, it's brought out his personality in a way that him just speaking alone would not. And then this is I shared this with a lot of you guys before. This is when I first started teaching with Minty. I wanted to make sure the audience liked it. So this was 114 people in a class that I was testing it out in. And I just asked them to rank these three points about Minty. I have to say that I still hear today that the classes where the instructors are using Mentimeter are far better than the ones that they aren't, because they're engaged throughout the entire day. It helps them just stay connected, and they have a much better time, and they have a much more enjoyable time, and they learn more when you have them engaged. And you guys know that if they're just listening, they're going to miss a lot of what you talk about. But if you're able to create this disruption and this interaction, they're going to retain more from what you're teaching them. All right, so getting started with Mintimeter, and I'm going to take you guys in the backside, but I just want to give you this information. There's a basic plan. It's $120. It's a very simple plan. You have all the functionality that I have, which is the plan I have. There is some educational pricing. If you're in education, it's cheaper, $84 for a year. Then there's a pro plan, which is $299 a year for the professionals, and it gives you custom colors, themes, and add a logo. So if you want a little bit more flexibility, especially putting the logo on. And then they also offer that pro plan for a little bit less money for education. It's $180. It's the same plan. There's like one or two things that are slightly different from education from pro, but it's basically the same thing. So that's that. To get started, you can do an all-in with one presentation, or the first presentation. I'm going to tell you the different ways you can do it. You could choose your way if you decide you want to use it. You can import PowerPoint into Minty, but it imports it as an image. It's just flat, no bullets coming in one at a time. So that may not be the best way if you have a bunch of information on the slides, because you're just going to get this picture, right, of the complete slide. But if you did it that way, you're missing the engagement, right, of just doing the PowerPoint. So you can just add the engagement in between the PowerPoint slides that you've imported. Now, the other way is you can build the presentation in Mintimeter. So I didn't do that initially. I did the next approach that I'm going to share, which I use a little bit of both, but you could just build your presentations from scratch. Every presentation I have now is built 100% in Mintimeter. I do not use PowerPoint. There's only one presentation I use PowerPoint in, and it's because I just don't have enough slides. So I have like 15 more slides I need. But I am all Mintimeter all day, all in. That's one option. The second option is you can put your toe in the water, and you can go part Minty, part Mintimeter, part PowerPoint. That's what I did initially. I wasn't totally convinced. I paid the $85, $84, and I toggled between the two. This requires some mad skills. You have to be able to toggle back and forth. Now on the Macs, all the Mac people know it's easy. If you have a magic mouse, you just slide your fingers across the mouse and goes boop, 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 back and forth. If you're on a PC, you got to know those function keys, and then you got to tab over whatever it is you do in that situation. Do I have an education? No, you don't have to have an education email. Nope. Do not have an education email. They don't even ask. They don't qualify the education. Have you had any issues with clients who want the PowerPoint deck in advance of the training? No, I haven't. But I work in a world that we don't usually share the slides, but you can export the presentation out into a PDF. A lot of us don't like to give out PowerPoints. Even, if we love the client, you could export it out in advance to a PDF. So they can't really use it again in their own way, but they would have the information. They just won't have the answers that come through during the class. So there's an easy way to do that. So as I mentioned, mad skills, toggling back and forth. You know what? And if you're a toe in the water person, you can do this. Just know that it does burn a little bit of a hole in your head in your brain cells. I think that this is a robust enough tool. If you're going to spend the $84, you should just go all in, honestly, but some of us have to put our toe in the water. All right. So what's your normal MO? All in, toe in the water? Do I have to answer? All right, let's dive in. Awesome, awesome. All right, so I'm just going to keep going here. Sometimes I wait for all the answers, sometimes I don't, depending on time. So behind the scenes, if you're not a process-oriented person, you should go fill up your water bottle right now and look away from the screen. This is a screenshot of what Mentimeter looks like from the back end. All right. It's okay. Just hit the refresh button, Pam. It will change eventually, or hit the go to slide. It'll change eventually. So this is what it kind of looks like from the back end. It's just a screenshot. You pick the type of slide. And then once you pick the slide type, if you picked an open-ended question, you put your question in, you decide how you want it to look. All right. So that's just a basic overview. It's very similar looking to PowerPoint, but actually at the same time, it's not exactly like PowerPoint. So we are going to go into the back end, and I'm going to ask you guys to, actually, this is what we're going to do. All right. So this is the presentation we're in. All right. This is the presentation we're in. This is what it looks like. And are you guys good? Everybody can see? Everybody's good? All right. Speak up if you can't see something. You guys can interrupt me. I don't mind interruptions. It would actually be kind of refreshing in a way. This is a big word slide. It was my intro slide. Oh, it's down on the slide that I'm on. It's not happy because I've got this presentation open. So it's kind of confused on where we should be in the presentation right now. This is
I'm sorry, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
If we choose to use the Mentimeter platform instead of PowerPoint, it looks like well, I can't tell. Are you using it in the cloud, or are you using it from your hard disk?
I'm using it from a website. So I'm
from a website. Yeah. But yeah, so is that how we would have to use it?
Yep, it's just on your browser. So you'd have 2 browser windows open, or one. So there's 2 options. You can share. It's a web-based browser. Yeah, 100% web-based browser. You never have it on your desktop. You use it for your desktop, but it's not something you save on your computer.
I'm sorry for interrupting. That infers that you have really good internet, which we hope we do.
I am hardwired. Yeah, I use an Ethernet cable.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. So you can see, like, there's the website up there, withmentimeter.com.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing the full screen page on mentimeter.com. The clients are going on Menti, right? And then there's something called Mintimote that is a more like, think PowerPoint presentation mode. I'm looking at something that looks like presentation mode on one screen, but I'm sharing the full screen version of it on another screen because I have multiple screens. Yeah. And there is speaker notes now. Yes. So before there was not speaker notes before. There are speaker notes now also. Yes. 100% web-based. So this is what it looks like. So this slide type here, it's a big, so you can see it. If I scroll over these things, it's going to change it. So it's big, right? And then if you go to the content slide, that's where you put the words in. So there's 3 tabs over here: the type, the content, and the customize. And that's where you prepare each slide type. And then along the left side here, it is very slow right now. Hold on. We're going to go into full screen. That might make it a little bit better. All right. You can scroll down and look at all the different slides here, right? And there is an indication even on the slides. You can see what kind of slides they are. They'll often reference what kind of slide, or you'll see an indication of what they are. So I have about 50 slides, which should make you very nervous right now in this presentation. And I built every single one of these slides from scratch, except for one. I did make it on a PowerPoint and I imported it as an image. And then all of these images that you see in here, most of them come from the image library on Mentimeter. There's a couple images that I imported my own images, but they have a really good library of images available that are free images. Clearly, if Mentimeter site has issues, that becomes our issue. You know, I've never had an issue with the Mentimeter site. In the last, I'd say, I've had issues exporting my presentations, like getting the PDF out from them, but it's never been down. And they've had some down times, but they warn you ahead of time. But I've never had, Mentimeter has never been down on me. So, you know, I mean, now I've said that it's probably going to crash next week. Thank you for that, John. So this is what it looks like on the background. Now, I do want to share with you guys the different presentation options. So I have here, all right, I got to get rid of this floating menu here. When you look at this presentation, this is going to mess me up for a second here. So I'm going to go to the slide we're on. This slide here is where I left off. And I can tell because there are little blue arrows next to it. So I'm going to bring this slide up here, and this is going to make everything go crazy. Oops, Bob Ramsey left and came back. Hello, Bob. And there's two options for sharing the live presentation. Let me hide this again. You can do the full screen, oops, which is this here, which I was sharing. All right, this is a full screen on a screen. Down here on the left is a menu here. And this is where you can drive the presentation if you only have one screen. All right, and this is how I used to do it. I had one screen, I drove the presentation with one screen, and I would save the PDF on the side to reference so I knew where I was headed. All right, now I have too many screens to talk about. And so the other option is you can have the full screen open on one monitor, and then you can use something called Mentimeter on another one, which is what I use and what I'm using right now. And this is what the Mentimeter looks like. Think PowerPoint presenter mode. And there is a place where you can have notes showing down here below. Could you have shared the results in Minty so I would have had to go back and forth? Just wondering. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Gina. Do you want to ask?
Sure. Yes. So I'm on my phone, and I kept having to go back and forth between the Zoom and the Minty because I was out walking. So it's just, you know, it would have been better for me, if my experience, if I could have seen the results posted in Minty, but I only saw the results posted in Zoom.
Yeah, no, the way it works is you answer on Minty and you see the results on the main screen. Yeah.
Okay.
That's just the way it works. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. This is a little bit of a look in the back end. I know this makes some people's heads hurt, right? It is very intuitive when you get in here. So this is where we were in the back end. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to browser back. Actually, it's not going to let me browser back. And I'll just go ahead back into Minty so you can just see how I get in there. Mentimeter. I click on my presentations. Don't be surprised by how many I have. There's too many. I'll find the folder where the presentation is that I need. I never delete a presentation. I'm a pack rat. And then I click on it. And so this is back to where we were, where you're preparing the presentation. So it's very intuitive, but there's a lot of options. So it's simple to use, but there's a lot of options to choose from. So you have to find the balance between going in simple first, not stressing yourself out on all the different options. Try to stick with 3 slide types so you're not in overwhelm. And then as you kind of peel back the onion, you learn more and more. Can you download presentations to a hard drive to clean up what's the Minty presentation menu? You can, yes, you can export the results and you can save the PDF versions of them. I mean, honestly, I could clean them out, John. I don't know. Someday I'm going to need all the results. Not really. I'm not really going to need them all. All right. So let's go back into the, we're going to go back into the presentation. Oh, there it is. Ha, double slide. All right. We're going to keep moving here. Back to the presentation. All right. So best practices. So the 5 best practices plus a bonus. Number 1, take the 60 to 90 seconds at the beginning of your presentation to get people on the tool. it's worth the time. I'm teaching 3-hour, 6-hour courses. So I am spending about 90 seconds explaining it, giving them the with them of what's in it for them, because the more engaged they are, the more they're going to learn, the more they're going to retain. It's anonymous, it's fun, blah, blah, blah. I take the time to do it. It's worth it to get them in there so that they can be engaged with you. Best practice number 2, ask questions up front and personalize your presentation. So I'll ask, how many years they've been in leadership, how many years they've been in customer service, things like that. So I kind of know who's in the room, because I want to honor who they are and I want to honor their experience in what they know, and I don't want to assume I'm smarter than the rest of them. Bob says I'm in. Best practice number 2, again, ask questions up front to personalize your presentation. So I'll ask open-ended questions so I know what their struggles are. I know why they showed up, what they need from me that day, so I can make sure I circle back to that, and I'm giving them some personal answers and some answers that are the reason why they're there. Best practice number 3, encourage collaboration and leverage the expertise in the room. I know I'm not the smartest person in any room, so I will have them give input on how to solve problems. So employee is lacking confidence and they are not sure they are doing a good job. What do? I let them brainstorm on solutions. So we take the answers from the room. So it's a really cool way to get them helping each other and learning from one another. And best practice number 4, confirm learning and correct answers with correct answers, or confirm the takeaways. Some of us are seed droppers. We want to make sales, right? We want to make sure people are picking up what we're planting. So you can confirm the learning, like that one of the first questions I showed you how you can show the correct answer. So you set it up so you know what answer is correct. You have them answer, you check to make sure they got it. This one, I must have done a good job because they all got it right. It doesn't always work that way. And then if they didn't get it right, it gives you a chance to circle back to the lesson. And then this is an example of just getting their input on picking up what you're dropping down. You can ask, this is a word cloud actually. And you can just ask them what their biggest takeaway was, or, what's important to them, what they learned, and make sure they're, the key takeaways they're getting are ones that you're hopefully giving to them. And sometimes you learn what you've said and what had an impact. I've actually learned that I have some tweetable repeatables, not because I remembered what I said, but because somebody else repeated back what I said. I'm like, wow, that was pretty smart. I can't believe it. That I actually said that and it was good. Best practice number 5, conduct research while you present. One of the questions I used to ask when I taught a class for women that was all day is we talked about negotiating salary. So I would ask this question, I have never negotiated my salary ever, true or false? The research shows that I found that 20% of women never negotiate their salary ever. My research shows 50%. So, you can learn about your audience and then you can use it later. So you can be doing 2 things. You can be using the presentations you're doing to do R&D for other presentations. So that's what I love about it. Be creative, choose a theme, add images or GIF or GIF, add humor, have some fun. Content versus questions. This is one of the biggest questions I get asked by my coaching clients is how many questions, how often. I go every 5 to 6 slides, then I ask a question, or every 10 minutes. I feel like I should be re-engaging them. 10 minutes is a long time to go without engagement. There is I forget who it is. There's a professional speaker that says you want to interrupt every 10 minutes. There's somebody else that says every 3 minutes. I would say if you've gone more than 10 minutes, you've gone too long without getting them engaged. They probably are off getting a cup of coffee at that point. All right, which best practices resonates most with you? This is an open-ended question. If you didn't figure that out already. The other thing I'll just share with you, I have a little cheat that I do. I actually export a PowerPoint version of the presentation and I set it on an extra monitor I have. I can reference it if I lose track of where I'm at. So I just kind of scroll through that while I'm teaching. All right, so I've got Janice says every 10 minutes engagement. Everybody likes the every 10 minutes. I see all of them as equally important. The research aspect is a great way to stand out. It's like constantly having focus groups. Yeah, it is. It's really cool. Constant engagements. Nice, nice. Anybody else? I'm going to give you about 10 more seconds. There we go. Continuous engagement. Time can vary. Now, if I was teaching in a class where I could see hands go up, I would ask people, if you're still typing, raise your hand. Otherwise, I'm going to keep moving. So that way I'm not sitting around waiting for nothing, because I don't like to sit around waiting for nothing. All of them, number one, because if they can't get on, yeah, they will be lost. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, spend that time. Great to do research. Thank you, Gina. All right, I'm going to keep going here. Be intentional, mix it up, cause a disruption, make them think, throw in humor, have fun. The word cloud is really cool, but only if you don't use it for every single question. One of my friends did that, and I was helping her with her class. I was the moderator. Every question was a word cloud. I'm like, dude, you just made Mintimeter boring. Don't use one type of question all throughout. Use all the different questions. It kind of catches them off guard. So options for presenting. I already kind of talked about this. If you have one screen, you just do the one full screen and you use the menu items along the bottom. So there's a little menu item where you can go forward and back. You use that. That's how I did it when I first started. I only had one screen, one monitor. If you have multiple, I'm a big believer on sharing the full screen on one monitor and then having the Mentimeter on another one. And I put the Mentimeter below my webcam. I've got this other screen. Actually, I'm going to show you guys really quick what if I can find my. So if you look at my picture here, my screen, my video, I have Mentimeter here. I'm sharing on my left, the main screen. And then over here, I have my webcam hanging on this jerry rig thing I created, and your faces. And I've got the chat here. So I keep the main screen I'm showing over to the left, and I look at the Mentimeter in front of me, but I tell them I'm looking at them if I'm looking to the left. So that's how I do that. And if you don't have another monitor, but you do have a smart device, you can put Mentimeter on an iPad, a tablet, or a smartphone, and you can drive it on that. It works great. So if you were in a live environment in person, and you had your computer sitting on a table, and you were sharing your Mintimeter on a projector, you could be carrying around an iPad or smartphone and driving it from your device with your computer sitting on the table in front of the room. So that's how you would do it. And you can do the same thing in your office. So this is, again, what the main screen looks like. The reason I put this here is you can see the menu along the bottom. That's how you would drive it if you only have one screen. And then this is, again, an image of that Mentimeter that I already showed you. So there's menu options on the left that, in a deeper conversation, I could definitely share with you how you'd use that. Okay, so I have a starter template for you if you'd like it. I know some of you already have this. If you'd like the starter template, it's just basically 30 slides that I'm just going to give you. You are going to end up being signed up for an email list, but don't worry, I hardly ever email anybody anything. So don't worry, you're probably not going to get an email from me if you're lucky, because I hardly ever email. All right. So just when you get to the landing page, just give me your name and email address, and you're automatically going to get a link that's going to let you download the Mintimeter slides. It's 30 slides. If you have an account, it's going to ask if you want to import it into your account. Wait, there's more. Okay, I've got to talk fast. This is where I am at the end of my classes. Okay, one more thing. I did want to mention the exporting of the content. So you can export a PDF of your entire presentation. You can choose just certain slides and provide those. You can export the Excel results. Everything that happened, all the answers are going to show up in an Excel report and on a PDF export. So you can share those with the client if you want. You can use it for research. You can use it to have a discussion on what the next presentation that their people need based on issues you've uncovered during the presentation. You can identify those other pains. It can help you book that next piece of business. What most excites you about Mintimeter? What most excites you about Mintimeter? I have to say, if I were to tell you, Mintimeter is one of the most exciting things that happened to me in the last year and a half. I love my multiple screens, but I really love the Mentimeter. Yeah, engagement. I mean, engagement, it's, you know, the energy that you can create when you learn how to do it and the pacing of it and just getting people comfortable with participating. It's very rewarding to have, yeah, to have fun. It's such an awesome tool. I talk about Mentimeter too much, honestly. I love this freaking tool. All right, I'm going to keep going because I've got 30 seconds. I can stay and answer questions though. Any questions you guys have? To invest or not to invest? What is the value of audience engagement? That's up to you to decide if it's worth that initial engagement, you know, that initial investment of the $85 was, because you can always upgrade to professional too if you want to. You're all mostly in education, so you could do the $85. Nobody's going to know the difference. I won't tell. Mentimeter is for you if you're presenting to live audiences, and I mean live, not in person, right? Hybrid, virtual, in person. You're willing to learn how to use it. There is a little bit of a learning curve. It took me about 6 months to really feel like I was good at it. It took me about 10 months to call myself a ninja. You understand the value of interacting and engaging with your audience. So there is some options. You know, I've done these presentations in Mentimeter for more than 150 presentations. So I do have a coaching program I'm going to share with you guys. I'd love to help you with this, but you can certainly do it alone and you can learn it. You know, presenting regularly every week, you could probably learn it in about, Connie says, don't go it alone. Connie's in my coaching program. So she's like, don't do it. You can do it alone and you can get there. I can speed up your journey rapidly. And that's why I just want to offer this to you and just let you know what it includes. And if you're interested, I'd love to have you join the program. And we can talk about it later if you need to talk about it more, but here's what's included. You get to deliver interactive, personalized presentations. You're going to engage your audience virtually, in person, and hybrid, and you're going to expedite your learning curve. And I would say that I can get you to where I was 8 months in easily in the 3 months that we will have together if you do the work to practice. And I'll give you opportunities to do that. There's 6 modules that I've put together. They're pre-recorded videos. You can do them self-paced. There's 3 months of support on weekly group calls. And I also do hot seats. And that's probably one of the most valuable parts of it is practicing. You bring your presentation, you present to the group, you get feedback in the hot seat. And you get to be in the Facebook group where you have the support of the team in there too. And everything is in a Facebook group. So normally the value for the time and the resources and the coaching is about $1,997. I have a special offer. It's $497. And here's what you get. You get all of what I shared, plus the one thing I've found that people really need during the 3 months is they need some of my time. So I'm going to throw in a bonus one-on-one session with just me and you so that you can just pick my brain and we will walk through whatever you need to walk through. I often have clients that need to work on a presentation and being in the group, they need just a little alone time. So I'll give you 90 minutes of one-on-one coaching. You can use it however you want. You can use it in one session. We can do 2, and it'll just be me and you. If you have an assistant or somebody that helps you, they can certainly join also. You can use this QR code to sign up. Or if you need time to mull this over, I'd love to have a conversation with you. If you have questions, I know I did like rapid fire, massive amount of information, but I can tell you this, if this is important to you, I can get you to where you need to be, and I can get you there in probably less than 3 months if you do the modules and you do the practice. No worries, Gina. So it's really about if you have the time to work on this skill and get it done on your own, or if you need the help, I can handhold you through it and you will have everything you need to be an engagement ninja, just like me. All right, thank you guys. I can answer questions for you. Questions on anything, let me know. I can go back into the back end. I can pull the curtain back again. You can open your microphones if you want to ask questions personally to me. I'm going to try to get more faces on the screen here. There we go. What do you guys got?
I put one in the chat, but I'm just curious because I can imagine participants asking me what Mentimeter grabs from them in terms of personal information, cookies, tracking, that kind of stuff.
So all it does is give them a like an identifier, like participant 1, 2, 3, 4, we have no idea who they are. Now, I suppose Mentimeter is probably because it knows who I am when I go back in. But anything it is tracking, unless they give their email address and you're giving. So one option is at the end of your presentation, you can let people get the presentation you gave by giving their email address to the Mentimeter people. So as long as you don't do that step, they don't know who that person is unless they have their IP address. Now, in the classes I teach, I let them have it. But if I do presentations for my speaking world, not my training world, I don't give the presentations necessarily because it's my intellectual property, right? And I'm giving all of me in those presentations. So it really depends if you want to have them be able to get those slides. And I would say that, but I don't sense that Mentimeter, they're not that advanced that they're using it for anything other than to try to get other clients, honestly. And they certainly, unless you ask for their name to go into a field, there's no personal identification that's going into the reports or the tracking that we have.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You must train accountants, engineers, or lawyers. Laugh out loud. Oh, that's what John's saying to you, Kevin.
Yes, somewhat. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second, just so I can see your beautiful faces. Any other questions? There's Connor. Hi, Connor. Dave, you've not, I mean, like you've heard me talking about this for like a year and a half. What do you think now?
Oh, it's awesome. What I'm thinking through is how I might use that, and not so much for virtual, but maybe even live.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm thinking through that I've got to figure out is like, I'm speaking at an event, they have no internet. And so I realized how I would have to be prepared to go either way. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is I have one approach, which is, hey, here's what I do if I have Mentimeter available and we have internet and people have their phones, but here's the backup if I don't. So I'm kind of mulling that over just because that just came out like a week ago. They go, no, horrible internet.
Yeah.
And the conference I'm at, they're not paying for it for the attendees in this conference center. So it's kind of sucks, but
yeah. Yeah. So that's definitely something to ask. And so so maybe in those situations, if they're doing hybrid, it's going to be more relevant for the people that are not in the room than the ones that are, and it'll bring them at least into the room with the people that are there.
right.
I think that's something we all have to figure out, right? Because I'm not an expert in anything except for Mintimeter, but I don't think we're ever going to be 100% in person ever again, right? There's no need. Connor, the Irishman speaks, he's going to be like one of those like holograms.
I tell you, I cannot believe, I'm slightly familiar with it, but I cannot believe the level of functionality in it at the price of it as well.
Yeah. And they've made a lot of enhancements the last year. It has gotten so much better. Yeah, the rolling 3 months it's rolling 3 months of support. So whenever you start, you have 3 months of support. And look, if you needed an extra month, I'm not going to kick you out, Gina, honestly. I don't kick people out. Yeah, it's an amazing, and they're constantly making it better. It's like that the presentation mode did not exist when I started. So you only could drive it on the main screen. And now that we can see what's coming, and there's a lot of like ways I can actually turn Q&A on and off while I'm in there. So if people start sending me Q&A on the Menti screen and it gets out of control, I just turn it off, and then once they've kind of settled in, I can turn it back on. Because really in the course classes, I try to like to get the questions out of the question box or out of the chat onto the screen, because then you can show the questions on the screen and everybody can see it. So it's really flexible. And even the way it displays, they've made a lot of enhancements to some of the ways you can kind of tweak the way it looks. You can make images different sizes, put them in different places. So you saw I had images going, on the left, on the right. You can put them above and below. I got to stop talking. I love the darn thing. One slide type with speech bubbles lets you control the scrolling. Yeah, so I actually find on the free format where people can answer free format, the open-ended questions, I used to do the scrolling and then I stopped doing that and I just scroll it manually, but you can also stop the scroll. So it depends on how many people are in there. If you have more than 30 people, I do not do the auto scroll. I control the scroll. Yeah. Yeah. And then you can highlight, like in that one, you can click on one comment and make it bigger on the screen. I think I did that with you guys. Yeah. All right. All right. Any questions? Anybody want to see something else? Like, do you need to know, must you know something? Awesome. All right, you guys. Thank you. Thank you. I'm still a ninja, John. Let me know if any of you are interested in moving forward with the coaching. If you want to talk with me a little bit more, my phone number is there, my email's there. I can also, if you email me, I can send you a link to my calendar and you guys can schedule something with me. Other than that, I hope to see you guys again soon.